And that's what they were struggling with, you know.
Because of the different types of
Yeah, there's
materials.
so many different kinds of materials.
Yeah.
And application of materials.
Well, there's probably some that you don't want.
And that's what they were trying to do, but
Yeah.
if, that's where the hard part is.
Yeah.
Okay, which one
Right,
doesn't apply and which one does?
right.
That's where it comes down to some interpretation.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the May meeting of the Warsaw Board of Aviation Commissioners. You should all receive, oh, that's right, I'm sure received the agenda packets and everything else, either electronically or perhaps some of you in a hard copy. But first thing in the, on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 9th board meeting.
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the April minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried. Next, approval of claims. What specifically would you like to talk with us about, Nick? I got an idea, but go ahead.
Well, what were you gonna ask, and I'll go from there.
I'm sure you're gonna get to DPT, Transportation Services, to explain to us what that is.
That was the contract you guys approved at the last meeting. They are the ones that provide the maintenance on the instrument landing system at the airport.
Got you.
We had that snafu with the contract. Neither us nor them realized that the contract went out last August, so we approved the new contract and then paid the invoice for that, so.
Okay.
The only other ones that are out of the ordinary would be BIT computers for the $9,690. That was the airport's share of the server upgrade that we've been working with the city very closely on. And the only other one that might be a little is the NOAC supply. That comes around once a year. That's for fire extinguisher checks. They come out and make sure all of our fire extinguishers are good. And then the royalty roofing, the $576. We had to replace, when we replaced the roof at the airport, there was some decking that needed to be replaced that was not in the original bid. And we thought that that number was going to be far, far higher than what it actually was. The decking was actually in really good shape, so they only needed to replace a couple of sheets. So that $576 was over the original the original quote that we were given. But other than that, everything's pretty normal for the month, unless you have other specific questions.
Any other questions?
Hit mine.
And I will just state that royalty roofing number, that was spec'd into the original contract that the board approved.
I make a motion to accept the claims as presented, especially the Ascent Aviation for $105,841.74, and Filtration Corporation for $57.99.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the claims as made in the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried. Okay, Nick, you say Ken will not be here tonight.
Correct.
Do we have anything from him or anything from you as part of your report?
As of right now, it is not official yet, but I do not believe that Warsaw was selected for supplemental funding for this year. We did hear that Fort Wayne International and Evansville both received a little over $9 million each for ramp projects. Though I will say it's not 100% against us yet, because A, we have not been notified we did receive funding, and B, we have not been notified we did not receive funding. It's very, very difficult to get information from the FAA right now. I've talked with people in DC and in Chicago. Nobody knows when Fort Wayne or Evansville will be receiving those funds, whether those are 2019 funds or 2020 funds. There's just, we're all waiting for a little bit more information. But as of right now, we are not on that preliminary list. So I will keep the board updated as soon as I hear anything more about that.
Okay, and that's the,
That is the 100% grant.
okay, and that's the supplemental?
That's the supplemental.
The other one is the discretionary, which is still.
Which is 90-10.
Yeah.
And the state would pay, right now, they are budgeting 5% of our 10%. So it's actually a 95-5. And we have made that the application for the power lines for this year, and that decision won't be made until later this year.
Okay, does the fact that Fort Wayne and Evansville have sucked up all that money apparently in the supplemental funding, give us any hope that there's more opening for discretionary funding?
That is the hope, but we just won't know until we get some more information. Because again, those funds could be 2019 funds, they could be 2020 funds. The FAA hasn't announced that yet.
Okay.
That information was just gained through press releases from our senators.
Nick, do we need our congressional delegation to rewrite their letters specifically for this round of funding?
For the AIP discretionary dollars, no, we can use the same letters for that.
Will they need to be resubmitted, I guess is a more
We-
important question.
We submitted them about 3 weeks ago with our application for the discretionary dollars.
Oh, I see, so
Yep.
you've done both.
We applied in February for the supplemental funds, and we applied at the end of March. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was last week of March, first week of April,
Gotcha.
for the discretionary funds. And we are, right now, Ken is working on finalizing the airport layout plan submittal. He is the only one working on that project right now, so that way, when it is submitted to the FAA, it will be his ALP for the airport to submit. So if there's any further issues, he will know exactly what is going on and have a very intimate relationship with that, instead of one of his other engineers doing that.
Okay.
And that's all I've got right now.
Okay. Questions about any of that, other than what? Okay, off to the manager's report portion.
All right. Well, as you can see, we are still down in fuel sales. With the year just starting off slow, it's been very, very hard to catch up. I don't know that we, like I said at the last meeting, that we necessarily will, specifically with the Zimmer Biomet transfer of one aircraft from being based 100% of the year here to mostly being based out of the East Coast. And that aircraft is actually down for maintenance for about the next 12 weeks, so we won't probably see it in and out very often. Other than that, our fuel sales are holding fairly steady from what they were, and we're just going to kind of keep going as we can.
But revenue is up.
Revenue is up. Thankfully, with the new fuel pricing structure that the board approved that we are still putting into place today, revenue is continuing to go up. Our last increase is third quarter of this year.
July.
Yeah, July 1st will be the last increase.
No, I'm sorry,
October
October will be the
1st, yeah.
last one.
October will be the last one, excuse me. And so it was great that we were able to put that fuel pricing increase into place when we did. It has helped balance out the revenues, and we have not heard any complaints or any kind of negative talk. In fact, just about a week ago, we had a transient aircraft who had a jet who had an issue. They stopped at Warsaw just to look at something on the ground. And he said, wow, your guys' fuel prices are so low, I'm going to go ahead and top off while I'm here. So he topped off, and that was just at the transient price. That wasn't even one of our base discounts. So we're still very, very competitive in the fuel market. And I think that it's what it was intended to do, is to bring us and make us more competitive with the surrounding airports, is working.
And, I mean, the real chunk down, again, to kind of compare apples to apples here, the real chunk down in terms of, no, that can't be right. 2010 April for J&J. It can't really be 43,000 gallons, can it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of J&J's.
But the revenue is only 3,900.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how much we were giving discounts in fuel.
Yeah. Okay.
Before the fuel price, before we fixed the fuel price, we were selling our steepest discounted customers. Some of them were getting 3 gallons for the price of 2, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were 15 to 18-year-old price structures, and by restructuring that and bringing it into today's market, that's where we're seeing a fix of a lot of those revenue streams coming in.
Okay, but I mean, it's the J&J number that changes the total gallons.
That's not, that's 4355. That should be,
It should be 4,355 gallons.
Okay.
Linda.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought maybe had happened, because I thought 43,000 gallons for the first 4 months,
Yeah.
given the fact they've only paid, what, 1,500 gallons the first 4 months this year. That would be really noticeable. That'd be the kind of thing where you would have come and said, hey, wait a second, this
Right.
is a big change.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. Probably been there for 3 months and I haven't caught it yet, so.
Well, and I'm fighting a little bit of a head cold, so I'm probably slower than normal too, so.
Yeah.
Any other question? I'll scoot over for Jay there.
Any questions about the fuel report? Nope. Income statement, any questions? Anything that particularly?
Not particularly, nope.
Okay. Ready to head off to new business, Ari?
Whenever you are.
Okay, let's go, first of all, land lease.
Same as last month, we received these were the last 3 that we needed to have signed and brought into, just so that those land leaseholders are exercising their option to extend. So we'll just do these one at a time. The first one is for William Stouffer, Hangar 6C, and this would extend his lease 10 years until the 31st day of December 2029. And we do have that signature on there, and he's in good standing with the airport, so all we would need is a motion and a second to approve that.
So moved. I move we accept his 10-year extension.
Second.
Been motion made and seconded to extend the land lease with William Stouffer. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed say nay. Motion carried. I will pass these down to you, and the next one
The
is...
second one is Dan Lewis, Hangar 3B through December 31st of 2029. Do we have a motion
You
for?
can't make a motion and sign
Dan
your name
Lewis?
at the same time?
No, I can't.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
Who's that one for?
Dan
Dan
Lewis.
Lewis.
Dan Lewis.
Yeah.
Yep.
I move we accept Dan Lewis's 10-year extension for his land lease.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve land lease extension with Dan. Actually, he filled it out with Dan and Sue Lewis.
Yep,
And if so, then Sue are gonna have to sign it.
okay.
So, once you add her signature, but anyway, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
And the last one is Mark Ganger in Hangar 3B, and that is through December 31st of 2028. That was one of the ones we caught in the audit that we had missed last year.
I move we accept a 10-year extension for Mark Grainer for his land lease.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve a land lease extension for Mark Ganger. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
That will bring us up to date on all of our land leases and their options to extend, so we should be good for the next few months.
Okay.
Next on the list is Bear Ground application. It's the same that we've done the last 3 years, where we apply weed and grass killer to the perimeter of the airport. I will pass down the diagram if you are so interested in where we apply that. Just makes it so we don't have to weed whack the entire fence of the airport, which is a country mile.
Okay.
So the cost has not gone up. It is $3,374 to do the entire airport property fence. And this is with Dalton Chemical here in town. We've used them for 3 years now. They continue to be very inexpensive, cost-effective, and great to work with. So I would recommend that you accept this contract.
Okay.
And it's not actually signing a contract, it's just approving it, and then we'll get it scheduled.
Okay.
I move we accept the, whatever you want to call it,
Proposal from Dalton.
proposal for Dalton to do the weed killing around the fence.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay with everybody? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried.
Give me 1 second while I get the. We can talk about some lawnmowers. Just what you guys wanted to do on a Tuesday, right?
I'd rather be cutting my lawn than talking about it. But you do what you have to do.
I just cut mine less than a week ago when it started.
Linda, what was the cost on that Dalton proposal?
$3,374.
I'm gonna scoot over here for a second. I handed out a sheet of paper to you all about our lawnmowers, and I will kind of walk through those different numbers here as we go along. But before I did that, I wanted to kind of give a quick scope of what we mow with these lawnmowers every week. Maybe? Maybe not? There we go. Well, I did it on my computer and not on the screen. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. There we go. So today we are specifically talking about our zero-turn mowers, and as I told you last month, we're at the point where we need to replace them. On any given week, the areas outlined in red, we do anywhere from 2 to 3 passes, the full perimeter of the airport, the full perimeter and the interior of all of our runways and taxiways, and then these thick red lines here along Airport Road, as well as 300 north here and 350 north up here. We actually mow about 50 to 100 feet between the fence line and the road. The big blue areas that you see here are also big patches of area where we mow in between all of the different hangars, and it requires a smaller mower than some of the larger wide open areas that, like right along this road here and then this big field over here on the north side of our ramp. Can you guys hear me okay? If you have questions, I'll answer them. I'll try and talk up a little bit. So I brought a couple different lawnmowers to you tonight. Currently, the airport is using this mower right here. It is a Toro 6000. It is a 60-inch gas lawnmower, and that is the third column on your paper sheet there. Those mowers, if we were to replace the two zero-turn mowers that we have right now with like kind, it would be $3,999 with the trade-ins that they are giving us. Right now, we trade them, we've been on the mark to trade those in every 2 years or 400 hours. With the 60-inch mowers, we put roughly 200 hours a year on each one of our 2 zero-turns to mow all of those areas that you can see there. The reason there's 3 pictures up here, this mower here, we can get that mower, the gas mower, in a 60-inch or a 72-inch model. And then these 2 mowers down here are both diesel mowers. The reason we would look at the diesels versus the gas, they are more fuel efficient, which would hopefully decrease the cost in fuel. And they also provide more power, specifically in thicker, wetter grass. This spring is a perfect example. We went almost 11 days without being able to use the zero turns because it was so wet. With just the amount of rain we've got, we are very, very far behind in our mowing. And so whichever way we decide to go, I put in there the 60-inch for you guys to consider, but I really think that on the gas mower, it's an extra $500 to go to a diesel versus the gas. Or excuse me, to go to the 72-inch versus the 60-inch. With the gas mower, it's only an extra $500. It is a slight cost increase per hour on the machine, but the amount of mowing that we would be able to do with that is a lot more.
Your cost per hour measurement is, that you have here, is simply a measurement of actual cost
Cost.
of unit by
By-
projected number of hours for the unit. Does not
Correct.
factor in manpower, does not factor in gas.
It does not factor in gas or maintenance. The maintenance side is gonna be fairly similar, with the only difference being the Kubota. The Kubota is actually a shaft drive mower deck versus a belt drive, so it will have a slightly decreased maintenance cost. That's one less belt we have to replace. Maintenance is gonna be fairly similar on most mowers. The big savings is going to be with diesel. No company gives like, you can't put a miles per gallon on a lawnmower like you do a car. Our estimate is between 25 and 30% less fuel with the diesel versus the gas. So to go over that, one option is to stick with the Toro 6000 series. We've had two of those mowers for 2 years. They've been great. We did have the 60-inch. Again, I would recommend that we look at the 72-inch, even if we stay with that. I did put down the price, what it would cost to, that same mower, it would go to the 7000 series for a diesel motor. That adds $2,000 to the cost of the mower.
And everywhere you can go with a 72-inch mower,
We
you
can
can go
with
with
a
a
60.
60-inch mower, and vice
Correct.
versa.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have two zero-turn mowers, and we need one mower that is either a 60 or a 72-inch. I'm recommending a 72-inch for that extra foot. It's just going to decrease the amount of time, well, I shouldn't say that. It's going to increase the amount of productivity my guys have. We are still going to mow between 60 and 80 hours a week, but we will be able to mow more with the wider mower deck than we are currently able to mow right now. The place where I think we will have the most discussion is bringing in a larger, these are called wide area mowers. We test drove both of these mowers. We've never had anything like this at our airport before. One of them, and it's in the first column on your paper, is this mower right here. The brand is called Hustler. It is a 104-inch mower deck, and it is a gas mower. The cost of that is $23,000. The other one that we test drove is this Toro right here. It is a 96-inch deck, so 8 inches smaller than the Hustler, and its unit price is $30,499. The big difference is the Toro is a diesel, the Hustler is the gas. When we drove those two mowers out at the airport, it was right before we got the 4.5 days straight of rain, but it had just rained for 3 days prior to that, and we were able to test drive both of them in very similar mowing environments. The one thing that we noticed is the gas mower with the slightly wider deck, we had to mow slower than we did with the diesel because it bogged down. We had an issue with it. The engine just wasn't able to keep up with how thick and wet the grass was. The Toro, we did not see that problem at all. To go back to my first page here, everywhere that is outlined in red on the airport, we are able to mow with one of the wide area mowers, either the 96 or the 104. The areas in blue is where we would have to mow with the smaller deck mower. To put that in perspective, this, just on the west side of Airport Road, that normally takes one of our guys between 2.5 and 3 hours to mow that with our 60-inch mower because of all of the passes that it takes. And I went out with the 96-inch mower and was able to mow that in about 50 minutes. So it cut the time, not quite, but almost in half of what it normally would take, just because of how much wider the mower is. And for every 3 passes with the 60-inch deck, you're doing 2 passes with the 96-inch deck. So it really does save a lot of time. And again, it's impossible for me to sit here and say we are going to be able to decrease man hours, we're going to be able to decrease mowing hours, because we've never had a mower like this to where when we get behind, us getting caught up, and then are we able to get ahead and not have a worry about that. So I broke it down, and the fairest way that I could figure out how to break down these costs was purely on a cost per hour. I did work with these different companies. These prices are all from NJPA, the National Joint Powers Associates. That is a nationally accepted bid for these projects, so it is a municipality bid that we are able to go in and use these prices instead of going out on our own with local companies for bid. The Hustler, they gave us a 2-year or 300-hour, whichever one came first, price, and they estimated the trade-in value of their piece of equipment would be roughly $14,500 at that point, meaning that if we would trade in kind for kind, we would be paying roughly $7,800 for that piece of equipment. And then the Toro, they gave us 2 options. One of them was 3 years or 300 hours, or 5 years or 600 hours. And the 3 years, 300 hours was significantly more with the trade-in value. They were going to give us a trade-in of $15,000, which would make the unit $15,500. And the 5 years, 600 hours would give us a trade-in value of $12,000, which would take the cost up to $18,490, but the cost per hour would come back down on that then. So I guess the main question that the board needs to answer tonight is, are we willing to make that step up from a 72-inch to a 96 or 104-inch machine to cover more ground, to mow more, see if we can get ahead versus constantly playing catch-up throughout the year? Or is that something that at this time the board's just not interested in, save our money and put it towards other projects that we're looking at?
Okay, so are you suggesting, so it's either as far as you're concerned, it's either upgrade a mower or to 96, or don't upgrade a mower? I mean, are you still saying, or do you want a mower this year?
We need 2 new mowers this year.
And the only
Yep.
question is which 2 we're gonna get.
Correct.
Okay.
So if we were to just trade exactly what we have for 2 new ones, it would be under that Toro 60-inch gas column. It would cost us $4,000 per mower instead of $11,500 per mower. And that would get us exactly what we have today, right there. For us to go up to the 72-inch mower, exact same what we have today, it would cost us $4,500 per mower instead of the $4,000. So I personally think that the $500 to get the extra foot in cutting width is definitely worth it. Where we are going to see the main savings is outside of the airport fence, right along here, and along 350 and 300, and then the perimeter of all of the runways and taxiways. Those currently take 3 passes with the 60-inch zero turn to get in far enough that our batwing mower can mow. So with the 96-inch, that would only take 2 passes. So each one of these circles, it would save us 1 racetrack, the whole length there, and then the full width all the way down and around the runways as well. So it would be a huge time saver in that sense.
Is there any advantage to going both diesel or both gas? I mean, using the same?
Not really. If we were to stick with 2 smaller mowers, say 272s or 260-inch, definitely keep them both diesel or both gas,
Okay.
because then the parts are the same.
Yeah.
If we're going 1 large mower or 1 small one small mower, at that point, it's not an issue, because the belts, the filters, everything is gonna be different. So there's no advantage at that point.
Plus you take a chance to put the wrong fuel in the wrong tractor.
Correct.
And these costs per hour are really based upon the cost of the unit, and really, because if you go from a 60 to a 72-inch mower, it says that the cost per hour is higher, but that's because it costs more money. You really haven't factored in the time savings.
Because there's no way for us to quantify that
right.
right now, unfortunately.
Well,
You
which
assume it's
is-
not gonna be 20%, but it's gonna be higher than 0.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I bring that up, because that just means that, if you go 72 inch instead of a 60, your cost per hour could actually be less.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
And that is where I could not, on paper, put down an actual cost savings, because we don't have that data and I thought that just putting down the cost of the machine, and then we could have the discussion and document it that way of where those other cost savings could come in. So,
So what's your recommendation? What would you prefer? Okay, maybe not what you prefer, what's your recommendation?
Linda's chuckling because one of the mowers we looked at, that John Deere has it's called the 1602 series, and it's a $70,000 mower it's 11 feet wide. It's an unbelievable zero-turn mower, and that's the type of mower we don't actually need at the airport. That's why she's laughing at me right now. But we looked at all of the different companies out there. We've talked with a lot of different people. The reason I'm really focusing on the Toro and the Kubota, we can purchase both of those through Moore's Farm Store. They have an agreement with the airport currently in place where if they cannot have that piece of equipment fixed within 2 hours, they will have that same piece of equipment there free for us to use as a rental unit until they can get us our piece of equipment back if one of ours ever breaks down.
But that's even over the Toros and the Kubotas, all of them, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
The Hustler is the
yeah.
only one that does not have that we do not have that agreement with. The only company that sells the Hustler is out of Goshen, and they just can't match that type of a service agreement with
Okay.
us.
So on this list, which of the two would you suggest?
I would really suggest looking at the Toro 96-inch, and then either the Toro 72-inch gas or the Toro 72-inch diesel.
I don't want you to tell me either. What's your recommendation?
I think that the diesels we will get better cutting in the wet, thick grass specifically like we've had this spring than we would with the gas. The one advantage that the Kubota has over the Toro is it is a shaft drive. We've never operated Kubota at the Warsaw Airport before. We've had our previous mower, one of them was a Toro, and we had it for almost 16 years. They've treated us very, very well, and why change something that's been treating us really well for the last 16
Yeah.
years? So
So what do you think, folks?
there's lots to discuss. If you have any other questions, I will be happy to try and answer them as best I can.
I would be in favor of going with the Toro 96 and the Toro 72, both diesel.
Okay?
What do you think, Dan?
No, I was kind of leaning in the same direction,
Okay.
actually, rather than both of them being the same size.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What?
Yeah.
Makes sense? I mean,
Yeah.
that's his recommendation, so. Got a motion to that effect down there?
I'll
Let
make
me-
that motion.
John, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you, Nick, do you have, anything to say about that mix?
I think that that's a great solution. That would make the total cost to the airport $29,399 right now to replace both of those mowers. And then like we discussed at the last meeting, we are working to try and get that so that we can just have a trade-in every 2 years, or we can pick hours or we can pick years, how we want to work all of that. But once we have the new mowers in place, we can build that into the budget and just replace those mowers instead of
Alternate
having,
years, yeah.
yeah.
So. Dan, is that a motion to purchase the 96-inch diesel and the 72-inch diesel from Toro?
I will make the motion to one Toro 96-inch diesel and one Toro 72-inch diesel.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carried.
And that concludes new business for me unless there is a specific question from anybody.
Okay, any other business to bring before the board? If not, meeting adjourned. Our next meeting is on June 11th. Have a wonderful evening.
Let's go get some ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one more meeting to go to. You know what's going on?
Sewer repair,
Okay,
water, water.
just natural curiosity.
It's kind of a surprise.
Well, you know, in the middle of Webster, they're tearing down the south end of the old building for construction of the library, which we hope to begin for at the end of the year. And it's been it's like a speed bump, because everybody who usually breezes through hot town as quickly as you can slows down to see, wow, that's great. Too bad they couldn't have saved the building. I mean, that's what everybody says. Sarah?
Have a good night, Ron.
Okay, we are all done?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
Yes,
they are.
That's
That's when he gets up and turns the machine on like three minutes before we started.
Okay.
So,
That was the, that's both of them.
yeah,
The
it's worse on me, because I really have to watch myself.
Yeah, they are live, or you can go back and watch it later.
So is what I might say.
How do you mind it on the TV when you got?
Go
Up there or
just
the
the
right
Warsaw's
What do you mean?
on the
website, I think you can get it from there.
I would just
Yeah.
take ours down and they can, the next group can put in which ones it needs to be.
I
You
did.
can get it on your
So leave them
computer,
blank.
you can get it on your TV.
No, computer,
Yeah.
but all the meetings held in here are from.
No, it's fine.
That's a whole issue for down there.
Yeah.
Joe wanted
So
it
there's
to
the
be
end of
able
the runway and
the
you can
broadcast.
barely kind of.
I understand you have a
there's
fan
just
club
one
now, it's
right
been
out
generated,
there.
Gene, by all the
Don't be
groupies
scared.
here. You got some groupies.
You see that cut in the trees?
Okay, guys, good
That's
enough.
where those.
See you next.
that over scaring people away.
South, that's 175 east.
Okay.
It's just east, it's those ones right there.
Gotcha.
Yep. So what those do, it's two things. When you come in and land to the west, they cause aircraft to push west. And when you take off to the east, it decreases the amount of weight that you can take off.
showed up again.
Because if we lose an engine, those power lines are a real obstruction right there. So that's why it's so important to get those down, is because they're a safety obstruction for the aircraft coming and going. Knock on wood, it hasn't been there or they've been there since 76, 75, somewhere in there, and that runway's been in place since 80. There hasn't been one yet, but I don't want to be the person that, exactly.
I couldn't turn left on Main Street, I couldn't turn
Yeah,
right
I saw
on,
that press release.
Full Main Street.
Big
Wow.
stuff.
And I had to
Other
go
cities getting it.
out past,
I
I
wasn't
didn't
thinking,
trying to
we'd be
get out of
working
town.
with
That's bad.
It was
But
crazy.
the thing is, the FAA and the DOT, neither one who are in charge of all that, nobody's released who did or will receive funds yet. So Jim Banks and Todd Young both released press releases, and airports still.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The Washington DC FAA office, they don't even, Jim Banks, or
Dirty,
Todd Young
everything
knew before, they don't,
Truck tractor.
so
Yeah, we had.
nobody really knows, and they don't know if it's 2019, 2020, if it's gonna be split over 2 years.
South of Webster.
Nobody has any idea, so.
You might still get my.
So every day I want to get
We're
to my
hopeful that
office.
even if we don't get
I
out
had
of
to
that,
stop.
we can
Yeah, I couldn't
maybe
find
get
it.
some later.
Right.
Well, and then there's a bridge out right next to South Shore Golf Course.